That heater's coming right at you on the big screen. Daily Diamond edition here for the Chicago Cubs. And Jensen, look, last year, 92 wins, pretty darn good. A thriller that they lost in the NLDS to Milwaukee, 3-2. So to get back to the postseason, you got to lay it. Or 250 you have to lay just for this team to make it, whether it's by winning the division, which they're the favorites to do at plus $10, or to get in as a wild card. Their win total is high, 88.5. To win the pennant, 9-1, 18-1 to win the whole kit and caboodle. What do we make of this Cubs team? Because I do think on paper it looks even better than a year ago.
I think it does too. My bold take from our VSiN MLB betting guide this year, Cade Horton, their young pitching phenom who was hurt down the stretch, did not get to participate in that postseason run last year, becomes a legit NL Cy Young contender, and the Cubs make it back to at least the National League Division Series. I have bet Cade Horton at 75-1 to win the National League Cy Young as well. I know that everyone is staring down Paul Skeens, trying to run him down as well. But if you look at the overall roster construction, it may be better than last year's 92-win team. I say that because they get as big an acquisition, I think, as any because of what he brings to you in Alex Bregman. I was an advocate for not re-signing Kyle Tucker at what that financial commitment would look like. I think it would derail what Jed Hoyer, Carter Hawkins of that front office were trying to accomplish in not only continuing the momentum of what they had last year, but Dave, that probably would have dissuaded them from spending money on a guy in Pete Crow-Armstrong that the extension they were able to give him just hours ago, that might not have been able to be consummated. So you get Bregman to come in on a shorter, higher deal. You get one of your franchise cornerstones for years to come locked up in Pete Crow-Armstrong at a very affordable deal. And it still allowed you the flexibility beforehand to make a big trade. They send one of their top prospects in Owen Casey to the Miami Marlins and get a great rotation guy in Edward Cabrera. You look at the back end of their bullpen. I'm very bullish on what they did there in front of Danny Palencia, who, if you remember, was the closer there for Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic, was just lights out. They go out and get some veteran arms in Phil Maton and Hunter Harvey, Jacob Webb, Hoby Milner. Caleb Thielbar was a big left-handed addition for them in just an offseason ago that proved vital to them down the stretch. And then I think it's the emergence of not only Horton, but also, turn back the clock, Matthew Boyd. What a hell of a season for him. And really on the heels of what he did. If you remember in Cleveland just a couple years ago, he was so crucial to their postseason run. And it landed him, that free agent contract, which ultimately put him at the head of this rotation. Shota Imanaga has looked unbelievable this spring training. Dave, they're probably going to get their former ace, if you will, Justin Steele, from just a couple of years ago. He's on the mend here quicker after coming back from elbow surgery. And that was, remember, at the end of April, just a season ago. So all the pieces are in place for the Cubs to not only be a contender, but I think we'll have the opportunity come trade deadline time, should they be one of those top teams in Major League Baseball. I would expect this front office to go for it and do whatever is needed to try and line up against who we assume will be the Dodgers as the team to beat. Overall, I think it's an overplay on the 88.5 for the win total. I think you can get involved in some season-long props with some players, and I think you look at the Cubs as that bet to win the National League Central.
The Cubs are the second biggest favorites on opening day tomorrow. The Dodgers will be the biggest over the course of the next 2 days here against Arizona. But tomorrow it will be the Cubs with Matthew Boyd in the bump, minus 233 against Cade Cavalli in the Washington Nationals here on the run line. It's minus $1.05 in the Cubs at minus $1.50. When I look at that rotation, and I'm so glad you brought up Cabrera, because I look at it and I go, hey, I really like the Mets' depth. We know about the Dodgers' depth to their rotation. It was on display in the World Series, running back the starter after starter after starter. But when you can go Boyd, Imanaga, Horton, Cabrera, and even Jameson Taillon as a fifth starter, and you mentioned Steele, they've got some depth there too. it does feel like some winning streaks will be coming with this pitching staff, and the lineup looks great too. Barring injury, Jensen, I can understand why people want to get down on a 9-1 ticket to possibly win the pennant here this year for the Cubs. I think those expectation levels are not too high for this club.
Totally agree. This is also a lineup that's going to deal with Seiya Suzuki on the IL to start the season. Remember the knee issue from his time with Team Japan. I don't know if they feel like they need to rush him back because of the spring that Matt Shaw has. Again, remember Shaw was one of their top prospects just a year or so ago. It all of a sudden looks really good for them to have signed Michael Conforto as a non-roster invitee in spring training who can be a help for them right away. I just think the lineup is deep. There's balance. There's multiple ways to beat you. But I know what Bregman did for the Red Sox just a year ago. And it wasn't just helping guys like Roman Anthony ascend to where they are and so early in their career. He's a veteran that makes veterans better. And hearing guys like Dansby Swanson talk about, what he's brought to the table, it could not have worked out better for Bregman and Pete Crow-Armstrong to be teammates on Team USA for the World Baseball Classic. You've already seen a distinct difference in the plate discipline and approach for PCA. I want people to circle a name. Michael Busch does not get the credit that he deserved after an incredible breakout season last year. But if the lineup were to be constructed for Craig Counsell with PCA leading off, Michael Busch hitting second, Alex Bregman hitting third, Ian Happ hitting fourth, I mean, this is a great team, especially at home, looking for run first inning props. And especially we check the wind at the friendly confines every day to see if it's blowing out. You're looking for run lines. You're looking for overs on totals. If that lineup, and again, once they get Seiya Suzuki back, it's going to be even better. That's as deep a lineup outside of the Dodgers that you're going to find in the National League. And so I think everything points north to the Northsiders on where Chicago can be, not only in this regular season, but also with what they have in store. And they really look like a team that can finally take that big next step and really be one of those true contenders in the National League.
Your Honor, if I may redirect, I would point you in the direction of the New York Mets from a year ago, where barring injury, and the Mets did have injuries to the rotation, we saw that, but it was team turmoil that felt like they killed that team more than anything. Outside of the Dodgers, they were bulletproof, right? They had injuries and yet still went on, survived the injuries, and went on to win the World Series. Your Honor, outside of injuries, what could possibly derail the Chicago Cubs team? We gave all the laudatory things that could happen and the positives. What could go wrong outside of injuries on the north side?
Oh, the history and the expectations. Anytime there's been this kind of feel about a team, playing with pressure is really difficult. And oh, by the way, you're staring up at a Brewer team that won the most regular season games just a season ago. Now, Milwaukee, way different as far as roster construction on their pitching side and already dealing with some injuries to their rotation. But they pretty much return everybody on their offensive side that was a top 3 scoring offense in Major League Baseball. Now, the Cubs, I think two things can be true at the same time. Yes, the offense is great. And what can you expect from the bottom of their rotation? That'll be a question to answer for any of the other contenders in the National League trying to run down the Dodgers. The Dodgers have the best depth. They have the best overall team. Can there be a club that matches up in every facet? The Cubs do have that DNA already, and it won't take much if everyone's healthy come October to have them go toe-to-toe with the defending champs.